Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 5 of The Quest for Classics. Now, if you don't know what this series is all about by now, I'm a little upset. You've had 4 episodes to catch up on. They're all on this channel. You can go to the playlist and watch them before you watch this. But if you're stubborn, if you're impatient, if you need to know my thoughts on Alien at this moment, well, I guess I'll fill you in because, we're on good terms here. So The Quest for Classics is a series where I go back and review some of the most popular and critically acclaimed films of all time, because that is a subsection of the cinematic universe that I simply have not properly delved into yet. And as I just said, actually inadvertently, today we are going to be taking a look at what people argue to be one of the best horror films of all time, one of the best sci-fi films of all time, and just in general, one of the best films of all time, and that would be 1979 classic Alien, starring Sigourney Weaver. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, contrary to every other film that I've reviewed in this series, my initial impressions going into Alien were actually rather simple. Very excited about it, heard nothing but great things, and for some reason I just haven't watched this one, even though horror is, I would say, my favorite genre to watch. I just somehow hadn't up until now come around to watching Alien. I think I started it once like 5 years ago and got about 15 minutes into it and then just maybe fell asleep. I think I fell asleep, but I haven't avoided this film actively because there's been something that's concerned me about it. It's just one that I've never come around to. But needless to say, I was excited to watch it for this series. And now we come to the part where I always disappoint and say things that are controversial. Just kidding, not today. You thought you were going to be able to cancel me for an opinion today? Well, you are absolutely wrong. Alien is amazing. Alien is by far, spoiler alert, the best film that I've seen in this series to date. It is amazing. And I really want to talk about everything that I loved about it. This is just going to be an overall gush fest, which is something that you don't often see on my channel, but I'm excited to do it. Although I loved basically everything about this film, if I were to handpick a single aspect that I was to say would be the star of the film, the shining star, the shining achievement, it is 100% the sound design. It works on every single level possible. The way that the diegetic noise and the non-diegetic noise, the music meshes in with like the sound design and the clanging of the metal, the way that certain things that are like when an alarm goes off and it kind of meshes in with the music perfectly. It's literally like a maestro conducting an orchestra of these noises, and it's so incredible. I literally don't know if I've ever heard anything like this, specifically in a horror film where overbearing music is such a common trope. I was just so incredibly impressed at the way that this worked, and I am really incredibly sad that this didn't even get nominated for an Academy Award for sound of the year that it came out. But the category that it actually did win at the Academy Awards is it won for visual effects, and I gotta say, once again, incredibly impressed for a film that came out in the 70s, albeit the late 70s. The effects here for the alien and the chest burster and all of that really still hold up really well, and I'd argue function better than a lot of CGI work nowadays. So I was incredibly impressed by that. Really nice to see. And then I guess we can transition this into talking about the characters and the acting. In this type of contained horror film, or actually just in a horror film in general, you need 2 things specifically. One, you need a writer who is able to create dialogue that sounds realistic and is actually genuine, and you need actors who are able to portray that dialogue on screen. And my, oh my, does Alien have that in abundance. The thing, and people have said this over and over again, that Alien is, the people sound like real people, and there's a lot of camaraderie being built, and they focus on those scenes a lot to garner this feeling of an actual crew on a ship. And while I do agree with that, the other thing that I think needs to be pointed out is, in my head, so this is just from my personal perspective once again, this is the closest depiction of what would actually happen if this scenario arose in real life to reality that I've seen. This seems like what real people in the real world would do if they were given this scenario on a silver platter and said, here, how do you tackle this? How do you fix this? People make mistakes along the way, but also people don't make mistakes along the way. It's a perfect mix. You have the perfect mix of characters as well. There's everyone for every different niche that needs to be filled. And the best part is that they don't seem stereotypical. You know what I mean? They seem like genuine, authentic people, but they all fill a certain personality trait that needs to be in this film. I would also really like to touch on the legacy aspect of Alien before I really get into my classic or not, which it's kind of obvious, but just bear with me. Wow. So oftentimes I will see films that are heralded as these classics, and people will say, you know what, this film influenced an entire generation of films after it that were trying to mimic the parts of this original film in order to reap the same benefits and success of it. And I never really got it. The one that I can get the most is The Matrix, because I've seen so many ripoffs of The Matrix. But even in that way, they were just kind of copying the film. You know what I mean? They were just copying The Matrix. It wasn't implementing certain aspects. They were just, hey, here's The Matrix again, but worse and with like a slightly different plot line. Alien is the first film that I have seen where that statement is 1,000,000% warranted. There are so many, I say like 80% of horror films that have come after Alien have taken inspiration from Alien. Sure, they're like the obvious ripoff ones like Life or whatever, where it's just, hey, this is Alien again. But the way in which to utilize the sound design with the diegetic and non-diegetic sound, the way to utilize the framing of the cinematography, and the use of, oh my god, I haven't even talked about the use of lighting in this film, which is also amazing. The way that it enhances certain aspects of a shot that would not usually be brought out into the forefront. So good. But anyways, I've seen so many horror films directly take, now that I've seen Alien, I can look back and say, oh, okay, all of these films have directly taken certain aspects from Alien. I think that this is the godfather of Alien movies, if we're being honest with each other. That's another film that has kind of done it. There are so many films that have taken inspiration from the Godfather as well, so I'll throw that one in there along with The Matrix. But man, Alien is just so fantastic. And thus we finally arrive at this segment that you've all been waiting for, where I determine whether the film that I've been talking about for the past 10 minutes is indeed a classic or not. And in this case, it is an overwhelming yes. This is the classic to end all classics. A brilliant film that I am so glad to have now watched, and now I'm able to have discourse about it with people, and that makes me excited because I think I could talk about this for a very, very long time. In fact, I'll be honest with you, before I started recording this, I was questioning whether I wanted to make this a video for Quest for Classics or not, or just literally make like an hour-long deep dive on it. So if you would like to see that, let me know in the comments below. I know that's a little bit of a corny thing to say, but genuinely I want to gauge if there's any interest out there for that or not. So that is going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed watching this, and I want to get back into the Quest for Classics. I haven't done one in, I think, a month or so, and I enjoy doing these a lot because I get to boost the strength of my cinematic knowledge, and I think these videos do relatively well sometimes. So yeah, that is about it. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you in the next one. Goodbye.